Unlock the miraculous. Discover the divine frequency that prophesied your heavenly reality shift. In the heart of a quaint English village, where cobblestone streets wore the patina of centuries and the scent of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, Margaret stood before the flickering altar candles. With her heart in turmoil, she clung to a fragile faith, praying for her son, Tom, consumed by a rare illness. Each night, she would light a candle to St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes, whispering fervent prayers, believing that a miracle must be just around the corner. That night, as the wind howled outside, Margaret drifted into a dream. She was engulfed in a brilliant light, walking beside an ethereal figure draped in shimmering robes. The figure reached out, placing a hand on Tom's forehead, and she heard a soft, resonant voice, "Your son shall be healed." The words flowed through her like warm honey, filling her with a divine assurance she never thought possible. She awakened, her heart racing, a sense of expectancy blooming within her chest, as if the universe itself synchronized with her pulse. But as she dared to share this revelation with the villagers, the air turned thick. They exchanged nervous glances, skepticism shadowing their faces. "A dream?" they whispered. "What can dreams do against the cold truths of illness?" Yet Margaret never wavered. Her conviction burned like the candles at the chapel. Still, doubt niggled at her heart, gnawing at the edges of her unwavering faith. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the vigil approached, and the village gathered in prayer, a tapestry of hope and fear threaded tightly. Soft whispers floated through the air, a blend of faith and doubt. As candles flickered like stars in the night, Margaret stood resolutely at the forefront, a portrait of grace amid a storm of uncertainty. Then, right in the crescendo of prayer, a hush descended. The atmosphere thickened, crackling with divine energy. Suddenly, Tom's laugh, an echo of joy that had long been silenced by illness, rang through the chapel. Eyes widened, mouths fell agape, and disbelief scattered like autumn leaves in the wind. Tom, walking unsteadily but surely, stepped into the light. He smiled brightly, radiating life, and the flickering candles burned brighter, casting away the shadows of doubt. "Mummy!" he exclaimed, and in that moment, the village erupted in awe, a chorus of gasps and joyful tears rippling through the crowd. Margaret's heart soared, but with it came whispers of how her faith had shifted the impossible into a radiant reality. Would the villagers accept this divine miracle? Would their hearts open to the rest of the story? In the silence, the answers hung heavy, a reminder that hope thrives where doubt has tread. As the village feasted on the miracle, questions lingered. How could this happen? What lay ahead for Margaret and Tom? What more could faith unearth in the trembling balance of reality? The air thickened with anticipation, and as the candles flickered softly in the night, the villagers listened intently for what greater purpose God had in store. The village buzzed with excitement, each person sharing stories of faith and hope, like ripples in a pond. Margaret stood humbled amidst the gratitude that flowed toward the heavens. Yet, beneath the joy, a stirring began to grow. She felt the weight of expectation pressing against her heart, beckoning deeper revelations. As days passed, Tom's laughter echoed through the cobblestone streets. But he was not the same child who had battled illness. There was an illumination about him, a spark of divine light that seemed to draw the villagers closer. Whenever he laughed, the sun appeared to shine a little brighter, a kind of glow that everyone noticed. Margaret cherished this miracle but worried what new trials lay in wait. One serene afternoon, Margaret led Tom to the chapel, their sanctuary of hope. They knelt at the altar, surrounded by flickering candles that now held deeper meaning. Eyes closed, she whispered her thanks, a heart overflowing with gratitude. "Thank you, St. Jude, thank you for your intercession," she breathed. Tom, curious and fresh with life's newfound energy, tugged at her sleeve. "Mummy, do you think I'll always feel like this?" His innocent inquiry caught her off guard. Would he always carry this divine grace? I pray that you do, my love. But remember, faith is not just about miracles. It's also about trusting the journey. A gentle breeze wafted through the chapel, and Margaret sensed a presence, shimmering just outside her perception. She looked around, the light bending, whispering promises she could barely grasp. Just then, the door creaked open, revealing old Mr. Mathers, the village's wise elder who had witnessed countless seasons of faith and doubt. Margaret, he rasped, eyes bright yet solemn. I've felt moved to speak with you. May I? Of course, she replied, heart racing, sensing the gravity he carried. They stepped outside, where the sunlight cast ethereal patterns on the ground. This miracle, he began, it has shaken us to the core. But sometimes, wonders like these ask for more than gratitude. They demand a deeper understanding. A thread of concern threaded through his voice. Margaret listened, and as if on cue, the wind began to swirl around them, rustling leaves like a congregation in quiet prayer. Are you saying, she started, that there's more to this blessing? Yes, he said, the shadows of wisdom etched upon his brow. There is a task aligned with this grace. Our faith has been revived, Margaret, and with it comes responsibility. Waves of unease washed over her, but she inhaled deeply, remembering the assurance she once felt in her dream. What do we need to do? He pointed toward the horizon where rolling hills met the sky. You must share this miracle. This village needs to witness the power of faith, the kind that ignites hope in desolation. There are many other heartaches in our midst that require healing. A shiver of realization coursed through her. Perhaps this was part of a grander design, a divine frequency calling them all to deeper faith. But how? She asked, her fingers curling around a flickering candle. I'm just an ordinary mother. Faith has no limits, Mr. Mathers replied, eyes softening. Speak of your journey. Be vulnerable. Let the people witness how miracles can be born in the soil of despair. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Could her testimony really inspire? Suddenly, the candles in the chapel blazed brighter, as if the divine was urging her onward. Tom emerged beside her, clutching a bouquet of wildflowers, innocent and full of light. Mummy, let us help people. Margaret gazed at his unwavering spirit. Perhaps they could shine their light together, for every soul has a story worthy of being told. In that moment, a realization blossomed within her. Her miracle was just the beginning. What awaited them as they stepped into this new calling? How would their village react to this wave of transformation? With hearts poised and mysteries teased, they would only find out by moving forward into God's unfolding plan. The air buzzed with a mix of excitement and apprehension. As Margaret and Tom moved through the village, a quiet conviction grew within her. The whispers of Mr. Mathers echoed in her heart. She felt a tug, a pull towards something greater than herself. Stay close, Tom, she urged, squeezing his small hand as they approached the village center where a gathering had formed. The townsfolk were curious, their faces painted with hope and eagerness. Margaret felt her throat tighten. Could her story, woven with threads of struggle and faith, truly make a difference? A soft wind brushed against her cheeks, carrying the scent of blooming flowers and the warmth of the afternoon sun. She took a deep breath, feeling God's gentle assurance wrap around her like a comforting shawl. I must speak, she said softly to Tom. His bright eyes sparkled with trust as if he already sensed the magic waiting to unfold. As they stepped into the circle of villagers, Tom tugged at her sleeve, his voice barely a whisper. You can do this, Mummy. Her heart swelled. With a nod, she climbed onto a makeshift platform and took in the sea of faces before her. They were cracked and worn yet shimmering with anticipation. Dear friends, she began, her voice carrying more strength than she felt. I stand before you not as a healer but as a mother. A mother who once feared for her boy's life and cried out to God in desperation. A hushed silence enveloped the crowd, their eyes fixated on her waiting. I never anticipated receiving such a profound miracle, she continued, feeling the fire inside her spark. Tom was once lost to us, and now he laughs and blooms like the wildflowers he brings home. Her words fell like seeds, planting hope into fertile hearts. Several villagers nodded, tears glistening in their eyes. There, amidst familiar faces, she felt support surrounding her, lifting her spirit higher. I believe, deep down, that miracles aren't just for the chosen. They are for all of us. God has a wonderful way of shining through our darkest nights. Margaret paused, taking a moment to hold the crowd's collective gaze. Often, it is our very trials that give birth to miracles. A murmuring broke out, stirring a sense of commotion among the villagers. Margaret sensed openness, and eagerness to delve deeper into faith together. The moment unfurled like petals of a flower, revealing vibrant colors hidden beneath the surface of life. But the voice of doubt crept in, whispering shadows, reminding her of the risks. What if they looked to her for answers she couldn't give? Yet, the gentle squeeze of Tom's hand anchored her. "Mummy, tell them more. Together, we have the power to heal. Together, we can illuminate our paths with hope," she announced, tension bleeding into grace. "I want to invite each of you to share your story. Your struggles, your joys. Each story matters because each one carries the essence of faith." The energy shifted, emboldening villagers to find their voices. One by one, they began to share, threading their experiences into a communal tapestry. Stories of loss, despair, and moments of divine intervention intertwined seamlessly with shared expressions of victory and joy. As they spoke, Margaret felt a wave of divine energy surf through the crowd. Hearts opened, and burdens lifted. In the ripples of their collective sharing, something profound began to emerge. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden light across their gathering. Margaret's heart thrummed in sync with the beauty of the moment, an unbroken connection suspended somewhere between heaven and earth. She sensed the anticipation of something greater beyond the horizon. Just then, an unfamiliar voice broke through, quivering with uncertainty. "What if we dare to believe there's more? What if all this is just the beginning?" The weight of potential hung delicately in the air, vibrating with unearthly possibilities. A flicker of excitement ignited in Margaret's chest. What lay ahead in their shared journey of faith? The journey that seemed to beckon like an open door into the divine? As the last rays of sun melted into twilight, she knew they were on the cusp of something extraordinary. What did God have in store for them next? As twilight deepened, a gentle hush fell over the crowd, their faces glowing in the remnants of the sun's light. It felt as though the air itself was charged with divine energy, an electric hum that sent shivers down Margaret's spine. Her heart raced, sensing the moment was ripe with the promise of miracles yet to unfold. "Now, dear friends," she said, her voice steadier, "as we share our stories, let us remember that in each tale lies a thread of God's grace, a reminder that He walks beside us, always." She looked among the villagers, her gaze landing on familiar faces, each etched with stories waiting to be told. Suddenly, Rachel, a woman known for her unwavering spirit but burdened by loss, stepped forward. There was a beauty in her vulnerability, her tribute to the quiet suffering she had carried. "I lost my husband too soon," she began, the words barely above a whisper. "I thought I'd never find joy again. But in my darkest nights, I felt God's presence. His love wrapped around me like a warm blanket. Today, I find hope in the memories we shared." A wave of recognition swept through the crowd, and Margaret felt empathy blossom like daisies in spring. Others began to step forward, inspired by Rachel's courage. Each voice unveiled layers of hurt, strength, and ultimately, transformation. As each story unfolded, Margaret could see the light of faith flickering brighter in every heart like candles catching the wind. One after another, faces shone with newfound determination, tears mingled with laughter, and hope ignited like fireflies in the dusk. Soon, they were more than a village. They were a family, bound by shared experiences, fears, and dreams woven into one vibrant tapestry of faith. "See," Margaret smiled, this is a glimpse of what God can do. Each time we share our stories, we light a flame in the darkness. And together those flames can become a blazing beacon of hope." The villagers responded with murmurs of agreement and understanding. As the collective heart began to rise, Margaret felt something shift in her spirit. The weight of doubt, those whispers telling her she wasn't enough, began to dissolve like mist under the morning sun. Then, adding to their fervor. Young Samuel, with gleaming eyes and a heart unjaded by the years, stepped forward. Sometimes, I feel like God is whispering to me. I hear him when I'm alone in the fields, watching the clouds drift away. It's like he is telling me there is so much more than meets the eye if only we're willing to see. His innocent proclamation sent ripples of warmth through the gathering. Margaret felt a lump rise in her throat. Yes, Samuel. That's it. God speaks to us in the quiet moments, in the rustle of leaves, and even in our laughter. We must listen. Suddenly the sky, once a soft orange, deepened into shades of purple and indigo, as if attuning to their gathering spirit. The atmosphere vibrated with a higher frequency, an unmistakable glimpse of heaven drawing nearer. With renewed fervor, Margaret clasped her hands tightly. Let us not shy away from the dreams placed within us. What if this moment signifies not just a turning point for our village, but for every life touched by our stories? What if we dared to believe that we can change the very fabric of our reality? A hush reverberated through the crowd, filled with palpable anticipation, as if the universe itself held its breath. The truth lingered luminous in the air. There was indeed something deeper lying ahead. One villager dared to voice a thought echoing in all their hearts. Is it possible for us to rise as one? To manifest the divine change within our community? Margaret smiled, her spirit soaring. Yes. Together, we can unlock the miraculous. In that moment, she realized they were no longer just sharing stories but activating a force of faith capable of transforming their lives and the very heart of their village. With the first twinkle of stars beginning to emerge, she could almost hear the chorus of heaven whispering back, "Are you ready to step into the next chapter of your divine journey?" As the darkness deepened, Margaret felt the stirring of what lay ahead. Could they truly embrace the fullness of God's plan? What extraordinary wonders awaited them all? As the stars began to twinkle above them like scattered diamonds, a profound stillness enveloped the gathering. Margaret felt an electric energy in the air, as if the heavens were leaner towards earth, ready to bestow blessings that could transform lives. She could sense it. Something wondrous was about to unfold. Let us take a moment to reflect on how God has stirred our hearts, she offered softly, inviting everyone to close their eyes and breathe deeply. Silence took hold, wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. In this sacred pause, Margaret prayed from the depths of her soul, thanking God for the stories shared, for the courage displayed, and for the strength found among them. As she finished, a gentle rustling emerged in the nearby trees. It was a whisper that seemed to echo through time, a reminder of God's presence in the stillness. It felt almost surreal, like a subtle communication from above. Listen, she urged, eyes shining with fervor. Can you hear him? Several heads nodded, as if sensing the same divine breeze that brushed against their skin. In that moment of unity, the atmosphere shifted and intangible force gathered around them, weaving their individual hopes into a shared aspiration. Rachel stood tall, emboldened by the energy rippling through the crowd. What if we dedicated our stories to God? What if we lifted our voices in praise and let our faith ripple beyond the borders of this village? A spontaneous wave of agreement surged through the crowd. It was a calling etched into their hearts, a craving for something more. Margaret's spirit soared at the thought. Yes. Imagine what could happen if we let our faith flow freely, like a river of life. We are the vessels for His work, the hands through which He expresses His love. Eyes brightening with enthusiasm, the villagers began to speak of dreams nurtured in the corners of their hearts, the desire to heal, to extend compassion, to share the gospel with those beyond their reach. They dared to dream out loud, and with each proclamation, their resolve strengthened. Samuel, with his youthful belief shimmering in his gaze, cried out with urgency, "What if we didn't just dream but acted upon these visions? What if we took our stories to the neighboring villages? We can be the light that leads others to the truth." Margaret's heart swelled. Excitement coursed through her veins, igniting a passion that felt unstoppable. Yes. We can embark on this journey together, fueled by the transformative power of our shared experiences. Let us be conduits of God's miraculous love into the world. As if the heavens themselves responded, a soft glow illuminated their surroundings, casting a divine light across the gathering. It was as though God was shining down upon them, affirming their mission. They were on the brink of something extraordinary, an awakening that could bridge divides and heal hearts. Yet, a moment of uncertainty flickered at the edges of their enthusiasm. "What if we do not know where to start?" piped up Miriam, a woman whose quiet demeanor often veiled her deep wisdom. "How can we share something so profound when we feel so small?" Margaret stepped forward, calming the anxious murmurs. "Every great journey begins with a single step. We are not meant to bear this burden alone. We will support one another. Each small act of kindness, every shared story is a stepping stone toward the miraculous." The villagers exchanged glances of both worry and wonder, sensing a tug within, an invitation to rise to the occasion. Hope shimmered in the evening air, strengthened by their collective commitment. Together, they could transform doubt into action. As night enveloped them deeper, a quiet yet resolute understanding settled upon the crowd. They could feel it in their bones, the call to arise. What might happen if they stepped forth in faith? "Tonight, we set an intention," Margaret declared, her voice strong and clear. "Who is ready to take the first leap into this divine destiny?" As hands raised hesitantly into the sky, she could feel heaven urging them downward in invitation. Tethered to their response, each heart beat with a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty. Would they embrace the journey ahead, trusting in God's plan? Margaret's spirit ignited with excitement, for the dawn of transformation seemed imminent. What could unfold if they opened their hearts fully and allowed faith to light their path? The whispers of the night seemed to beckon them onward, urging their response. One question lingered in the holy silence: are you ready to step into the miracles waiting for you? As the villagers stood in a sacred circle, hands raised toward the night sky, there was a palpable tension, a blend of anticipation and trepidation. Margaret's words echoed in the silence, and she sensed the fragile boundary between doubt and faith. What if they did take that leap? What might the world look like if they surrendered their fears and embraced their calling? Just as those thoughts flitted through her mind, a soft breeze swirled around them, rustling the leaves as if the trees themselves were listening. Miriam stepped forward, her voice like a gentle stream. "I can feel it, Margaret. There's a warmth in my heart that tells me we are on the brink of something beautiful." Her eyes sparkled, reflecting a light beyond the earthly. "Yes, yes!" Another voice chimed in, Rachel's enthusiasm echoing through the gathering. "If we can believe in this vision together, we can ignite a fire that warms not only our hearts but also brings hope to those who have lost their way." The crowd began to murmur, a wave of energy surging through them. Some exchanged glances, the hesitance melting away, replaced by resolute determination. Margaret smiled, feeling the spirit stirring among them. "The first step," she encouraged, "is to share the stories that have shaped us. Each of our journeys holds a piece of His divine truth." But as the excitement built, a shadow flickered across Samuel's face. "What if our stories aren't enough?" he asked, a hint of anxiety breaking into his youthful resolve. "What if we fail? What if—" "Ah, dear Samuel," Margaret replied, stepping close to him. "It is not about our strength or perfection. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Each story, no matter how small, is a thread in the grand tapestry of His love." The villagers absorbed her words like sweet nectar. Each heart began to pulse with an understanding that transcended fear. They were not small, they were cherished. They were meant to shine brightly. A hush fell over them as Margaret suggested, "Let us share one story, one moment of revelation. Together, we can weave a tapestry of God's grace." One by one, they began to speak. A woman shared her journey through grief, recounting how she found solace in prayer. A man spoke of a time he offered help to a stranger, his act of kindness rippling through their community. As each story unfolded, a warmth filled the air, wrapping around them like a soft blanket. Then Rachel stood, her voice trembling with emotion. "I remember a time I was lost, seeking joy in fleeting things. But then I found God in the laughter of children, in the kindness of strangers. It was the moment I realized that joy comes only from Him." A hush followed her words, a sacred reverence sweeping through the crowd. The energy shifted palpably, forming an invisible unity that bound them even closer. Margaret raised her hands, anointing the gathering with hopeful expectation. What if every story spoken becomes a beacon for those who wander in darkness? What if our faith ignites the hearts of many? Tears glistened in some eyes, laughter bubbled in others. They were awakening to a divine truth. Transformation began with sharing their light. The very act of stepping forward in courage brought the promise of God's presence into their midst. Yet, as the night deepened, attention lingered, a whisper of the unknown. What challenges awaited them on this path of faith? Would they stand strong when shadows threatened their light? Would they remember the warmth of this gathering in moments of doubt? Margaret felt the weight of those unspoken questions, but she also sensed an exhilarating truth: there was beauty in uncertainty. "Are you ready to embrace both the light and the shadows?" she asked, voice steady yet inviting. "Together, we shall rise and uncover the miracles waiting to unfold." As the stars twinkled above, each villager felt a stirring deep within. Could they trust in the unfolding plan of their Creator? The air was thick with possibility, and as they stood together, the question echoed softly in their hearts: what miracle will await us on our next step forward? As the villagers held hands, Margaret felt a surge of connectedness among them. The soft whispers of assurance wrapped around her. They were stepping closer to a vibrant horizon filled with God's promise. Miriam, her eyes still shimmering with anticipation, broke the momentary silence. "What if we made this a regular gathering? What if sharing our stories is only the beginning?" Her voice flowed like a river, carrying their hopes with it. An excited murmur rippled through the circle. Each heart beat in rhythm, a collective pulse of faith and longing. Samuel, shaking off his earlier fears, spoke up: "Yes. If our stories can bring light, then let us come together often. We can invite others, gather more voices." Margaret's heart swelled. "That's it. We shall create a space where everyone feels safe to share. A lighthouse for those adrift." She envisioned a place alive with laughter, tears, and the sharing of God's goodness. It was a vision that pulsed in sync with the worship echoing in their hearts. Rachel, still glowing from her last moment of vulnerability, raised her voice: "We could even plan a celebration. A time for the community to gather under the stars and share not just stories but songs, prayers, and dreams. Yes, a celebration of life and love." As they discussed, a gentle wind swept through them, heightened with expectancy. It felt as if heaven itself was listening, nodding in approval. Margaret caught sight of the stars above, each one shining brightly, as if affirming their aspirations. One after another, ideas began to flower under the open night sky. They spoke of inviting neighbors to join, sharing meals filled with blessed warmth, and creating spaces where doubts could be transformed into faith. The nearness of each soul made their dreams feel tangible, like the tender glow of dawn now on the horizon. Yet, just as hope filled the air, Margaret sensed a whisper of opposition lurking in the shadows. What if it wasn't as easy as it seemed? Would faith indeed shout louder than doubt? "Let us not forget," she addressed the group, "we may face resistance. Not everyone will understand our purpose or our journey. But we must remain resolute. In those moments of darkness, we need to lean on each other and remember this gathering, the sweetness of His presence among us." A solemn hush fell. It was a moment of recognition, a collective understanding that faith would require persistence. Still, Rachel's voice cut through the tension. "What if we reach those who feel lost? Those who think their stories don't matter? Our stories could be the key." "Yes," Margaret exclaimed, feeling excitement bobbing in her chest. "Our vulnerability is powerful. When we share our struggles alongside our victories, we resonate with the truth that God meets us in every moment." Just then, Samuel stood tall, his voice steady. "Together, we can just be the start. Each of us has a unique thread to weave. Who knows how this will impact others?" As they contemplated the significance of their mission, a warm glow enveloped them, an assurance that their stories could indeed become a lifeline for many. Hope danced in their hearts, sparking a flame of determination. Margaret felt the atmosphere shift with divine energy. "Let us pray for guidance and clarity to fulfill this call. To be unwavering in our purpose and willing to act no matter how daunting the path may seem." They bowed their heads, and as the words flowed, an invisible thread knit tighter among them. Lord, guide us. Help us to be vessels of your light. Let these stories drawn from our hearts reach others seeking truth. As they raised their heads, beams of hope lit their faces. With a newfound courage, they opened their eyes, hearts afire with the divine possibilities. In that sense of unity, they began to form their next steps when a rustle broke the calm. A figure emerged from the trees, a stranger cloaked in shadows, with an aura both mysterious and magnetic. "Who are you?" Samuel called out, his voice edged with both curiosity and concern. The stranger smiled gently. "I come with a question and an invitation to." Something beyond your understanding. Tension filled the air. What message did this stranger bring? What divine mysteries awaited them now? The stranger stepped closer, the moonlight revealing a face that was both youthful and ageless, with eyes that flickered like stars caught in the vastness of night. There was a calmness in his presence that seemed to draw them in, yet a weight of mystery hung in the air. "I have witnessed your gathering," he began, his voice smooth like honey. "Your hearts are filled with dreams that are interwoven with divine purpose. But I ask you, do you truly understand the power of your shared stories?" Samuel exchanged glances with Margaret, a spark of uncertainty shadowing his earlier boldness. Miriam leaned forward. "We believe they can bring hope and healing," she replied, her voice steady, yet curious. "Hope and healing," the stranger mused, nodding thoughtfully. "These are indeed the fruits of your efforts. Yet, what if I told you that every word you share can resonate in ways beyond your sight? Every story holds the potential to unlock deep places within another's heart. This gathering, this lighthouse you seek to build, it is more than just a collection of voices. It is the dawn of miracles." Margaret swallowed hard, feeling the gravity of his words spin around her. "Miracles? What do you mean?" The stranger's smile grew wider. "Sometimes, the heavens whisper quietly, awaiting a faithful response. When you share openly, when your truths flow freely, it creates a space for divine connection. What if I told you that the very act of storytelling could draw the miraculous into your lives? That your journey together could transform not only your own souls but ripple outward, changing the fabric of your community?" Excitement rippled through the circle. Samuel's brow lifted, and he could no longer hold back his wonder. "Are you saying we can bring God's power to life through our stories?" "Yes," the stranger replied, his gaze intense and piercing. "But it requires courage. You must embrace vulnerability, each struggle, each victory. In doing so, you become conduits of His grace. You must be ready to reflect His light, even when it feels dark." The wind picked up, swirling leaves around their feet like confetti tossed in celebration. Rachel clasped her hands together, her heart swelling. "We want to share. We're ready." But the stranger raised a hand gently, silencing the growing enthusiasm. "It's not just about sharing. It's about believing in the power of your words. Are you willing to surrender your fears, to step boldly into the unknown? Will you trust that your voices can summon healing, restoration, and even miracles?" The air thickened with anticipation. Each member of the circle felt a budding courage within them, fueled by the stranger's passion. Margaret took a deep breath. The weight of their mission settled like a mantle of grace. "We accept this challenge," she affirmed, her voice resolute. "We will share our truths without reservation." The stranger's expression softened, a glint of approval lighting his eyes. "Good. But remember, with each choice to share freely, blend your hearts in prayer. Seek the guidance of the Spirit, for it will breathe life into your gatherings. Miracles await, but you must be prepared to see them." As he spoke those clarifying words, the surrounding night seemed to hum with energy, a divine frequency vibrating through the air, enveloping them in warmth. Margaret's heart raced, electrified by the possibilities. "How do we begin?" she asked, yearning for direction. "Trust your instinct," said the stranger, stepping back into the shadows, his form blending into the night. "Share stories, sing songs, pray boldly. But above all, believe that what God has placed within you can change the world." And with that, he turned and began to vanish, leaving behind a trail of shimmering light that flickered and danced like embers fading into the night sky. The group stood in stunned silence, hearts pounding with expectation and mystery. What shifts were coming? What miracles would unfold? And that held breath. They knew a journey awaited them, one that was steeped in both hope and divine anticipation. As the last traces of the stranger's presence faded, a new question lingered in the cold night air. What if the ordinary stories shared among them were the very keys that opened the door to miraculous realms? As silence settled like a blanket, they could feel the weight of the moment. It seemed as though the entire universe held its breath in anticipation. Each one of them sensed the heaviness that came with choosing to step into the unknown. Rachel broke the stillness, her voice a mixture of excitement and trepidation. So, what do we share? Stories of our lives? Our struggles? Her eyes gleamed as she spoke, igniting a flicker of enthusiasm within the group. Yes, but deeper, Margaret replied, her thoughts swirling. Let us share the things we've held back, the fears, the hopes, the moments when we've felt closest to God. Those are the stories that matter. They are honest. Samuel nodded in agreement. Yes. The promises that God has fulfilled in our lives. We've all had moments where we saw His hand moving. Those are the seeds of faith we should plant. With renewed determination, they gathered in a tighter circle, hearts aligned with purpose. A flicker of nervous energy darted between them, each feeling the pull of vulnerability. This gathering was no ordinary meeting. There was an electric charge, a sense that they were on the verge of something momentous. Margaret took a deep breath and steadied herself. The shadows of doubt loomed but were quelled by an overwhelming desire to share. I'll begin, she announced, her voice steadying as she looked around the circle. There was a time when I felt utterly lost. I was in a place where nothing made sense, where all I could do was cry out to God for help. Her story spilled forth, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. As she recounted the tears of despair and the divine whispers of hope that followed, the air thickened with an ethereal presence. Each member of the circle leaned in, hanging on to her every word as if they were precious jewels. One by one, they began to share. Samuel spoke of his struggle to find faith in the darkest hour of his life, when a simple act of kindness from a stranger reignited his spirit. Rachel, with tears brimming, recounted a moment of profound joy during a family gathering, the warmth of laughter and love filling the void within her heart. With every story, the atmosphere within their circle transformed. Light seemed to flicker around them, a soft, golden glow weaving through the darkness, as if angels were listening intently. They could feel a collective release, a burden lifted, not just within themselves but among all present. It's incredible how our stories intertwine, Miriam said softly, her eyes reflecting the shimmering warmth of shared vulnerability. We're not alone in our struggles. We are all threads woven together in His grand tapestry. Suddenly, an unexpected wind blew through the trees, rustling the leaves and causing a shiver of excitement to ripple through their beings. Each story appeared like a note in a symphony, rising up to the heavens, creating a melody that was both beautiful and poignant. They could feel it, the presence of the extraordinary, hovering just beyond their reach. Margaret felt her heart swell with a profound realization. What if, she pondered aloud, each time we share, we are setting the stage for miracles to unfold? Yes, Rachel replied, her voice high with passion. We are inviting the divine into our ordinary moments. This space we have created is sacred. The realization awakened a deeper understanding. They were not merely sharing stories. They were unleashing powerful promises woven into their journeys. But amidst the joy and hope, a question lingered: what awaited them as they continued down this path? What divine moments were on the horizon? Their spirits were high and anticipation thrummed in the air. Suddenly, the wind whispered secrets, enveloping them all, and as they stood in the glow of shared narrative, they knew a deeper revelation loomed just beyond the veil. What divine connection would emerge next? And how would their stories lead to the miraculous? As the flickering starlight embraced the village, an exhilarating tension permeated the air. Margaret and the villagers gathered closer, sensing the weight of their shared stories pulsating with divine energy. Each heart beat in unison, an orchestra of faith poised for transformation. Margaret looked around, her spirit alive with anticipation. Believe, dear friends, she urged, her voice imbued with conviction. This gathering is not just about sharing, It is an invocation of the miraculous. We must allow our vulnerabilities to weave a tapestry of hope, healing, and light. A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd. Tom, playing at the fringes, chimed in brightly, Let everyone know that love is real. We'll share how God shows up in our lives." "Yes," cried Rachel, her earlier trepidation washed away by the freshness of conviction. "This is a chance to unleash the echoes of God's promise right here and now." As murmurs of excitement swelled, the atmosphere transformed. It felt as if the heavens were bending to listen. Each person's heart ignited with courage, and in that moment, they became vessels for an unfolding divine narrative. Margaret stepped forward again, her energy drawing the attention of the crowd. "Each story shared is a beckoning for the divine," she declared. "When we voice our truths, we light the very path of miracles. Who among us wants to share the powerful moments of God's intervention?" To her delight, hands shot up, eager voices filling the air. One by one, villagers stepped forward, each testimony a fragile thread in their collective fabric of faith. A man spoke of his battle with anxiety, how prayer revealed peace that transcended understanding. A woman described the healing of her broken heart through community love, each word a testament to divine presence amid pain. As they shared, Margaret felt the rhythmic glow of expectancy build. The energy tucked into a cocoon of warmth began to weave tightly around them, knitting hearts together, anchoring souls into something beautiful. The enchantment hung thick with possibility, a divine gaze upon their gathering igniting the entire village. Suddenly, a young woman pushed her way forward, trembling under the weight of her words. "I've been quiet for so long, but your stories have shown me that I must speak." Her voice quivered, yet determination flickered in her eyes. "I lost my way, but each of you has reminded me that no one is too lost for God's love. If He can heal Tom, He can heal me too." The crowd erupted into applause, hearts swelling with encouragement. Tears flowed freely, anointed in the tender realization that they were a family bound together by faith. Margaret stepped beside the young woman, wrapping an arm around her in solidarity. "You see? Every word counts. Your voice matters in this divine dance." As the momentum built, an eruption of kindred spirits sharing their truths cascaded around Margaret. The stories spilled out like confetti, shimmering beneath the starlit sky. With each testimony, the villagers found healing, hope, a promise that swirled within them like a vortex of grace. And then, as if orchestrated by celestial hands, the night deepened, and a resonant stillness enveloped them. Margaret felt it, a hint of the miraculous approaching. "Gather close," she called, inviting every voice to join the chorus. "Together, let us embrace this calling. We will not shy away from fear but lift our eyes to the heavens, trusting that God's light will illuminate our path. We are meant to thrive in the glory of miracles yet to come." Just then, laughter rang out, sweet and pure, from Tom. "Can we have a party?" he asked, eyes twinkling. "Let us celebrate what God has done." His words sparkled with divine intent, and in that moment, a vision seized Margaret's heart. Yes. A celebration of faith. We shall gather, invite our neighbors, and share our testimony at a festival of light. Let our stories resonate throughout the village, spreading hope and healing. Excitement enveloped everyone as they celebrated the inspiration. The canvas of possibilities expanded like the night sky, colors of dreams blending perfectly. Margaret felt the worship in her soul ignite, a precious glow spreading through the villagers. Anticipation danced within her heart, visions of love and community woven into an unbreakable bond. The flickering stars above bore witness to their resolve, shimmering with divine promise. In that moment, the gentle breeze whispered through the trees, echoing a melodic cadence around them. "Together, we are light bearers," Margaret proclaimed. "In sharing our stories, we step into the miraculous." And as they closed their gathering, standing hand in hand beneath the celestial expanse, each villager knew they were enterers of a new chapter, a harmonious chorus of faith ready to ripple out and transform the world. Margaret smiled, her heart filled to overflowing with gratitude. She now recognized their stories weren't merely for them, they were gifts of divine connection, meant to unlock light in others. As they turned homeward that night, every soul vibrant with hope, an unspoken transformation had begun. Margaret knew their small village had become a potent conduit for miracles, a lighthouse guiding the lost through the darkness. Now, as they all found their way, she whispered a prayer to the heavens. Thank you, God, for the power within our voices. May we always have the courage to share our stories and embrace the miracles waiting just beyond our faith. The stars twinkled brightly in acceptance, affirming their journey ahead. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that can change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread the miraculous message of hope. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this ending. Let your voice be a part of the light. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of faith. Don't wait even one more second to share. True servants of God know the power of unity in faith.